Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks. And yeah, we're finally getting around to the FV305. This should have gone up a bit earlier this morning, but well, what it is, the family emergency I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. My grandmother had a heart attack. It's a fourth in the last few years. Fortunately, it was a mild one, so she's fine, but she's just got to take it steady. So she'd asked if, because I can still drive an automatic, if me and my wife could take her to the supermarket this morning to do a shopping, and then obviously my wife help her out with the shopping. So that's why this one's going up a little bit later. But yeah, Super Bert, right? Yeah, the FV305. I've got the FV304 there, which I bought back the other day. And just a quick question. I don't know if I'm imagining this or not. I don't know if anybody can clear me up. Have they made Bert physically bigger? Because it just seems like it's a larger machine now than it used to be. I had it probably not long after I started playing the game. Watched a couple of videos on Jingle's channel showing Bert, and I thought that looks like quite a fun little arty, and went down the British line, got to it, and really enjoyed it. And then a few months back, I can't remember even which update it was, they gave Bert a big nerf basically to its aiming time, to its reload time, to its ground resistances. They nerfed its traverse speed as well, and it kind of ruined it slightly, and I just wasn't having as much fun in it anymore. You couldn't, yeah, it just, I don't know, it took something away from it. It wasn't quite the same. And then I've rebought it. Well, actually no, I've got the FV305 credited to my account, and I thought that looks quite big. Rebought Bert, and I thought, wow, Bert's the same size. That seems really quite big, and it just looks, I don't know, it just seems to look a little bit different how it used to. And I don't know if I'm just imagining it and remembering it wrong, but it does seem like they have changed the way it looks slightly and made it a lot bigger. But anyway, we're here to talk about Super Bert, which is a tier 8 version. Does see up to tier 10, which I think personally is a mistake. I think it should only have preferential matchmaking because, well, this one doesn't do a lot of damage. 45 damage, it's 45, 450 damage, sorry. It has a short range, but a very high firing arc. This seems to have a longer range, but not as high firing arc, sort of shell arc. So, you know, with the FV304, you can more or less sit on one side of the building and hit something on the other side, because it fires that high up in such a high arc trajectory. But this one doesn't seem to, but it does have more range. Now, for all intents and purposes, it is exactly the same as this, apart from, I believe, well, I've not checked the terrain resistances yet, so I will have a look at that. I think it is just the gun traverse itself that is 2 degrees slower on this. No, the hull traverse is slower as well. So, on the normal Bert, the FV304, you've got 22 degrees of hull traverse and 20 degrees of gun traverse. 500 horsepower engine, 4.8 second aiming time, 0.7 accuracy. In fact, I think that was increased as well, possibly. 310 view range on the 305, 20 degrees of hull traverse, so that's 2 degrees slower, 18 degrees of gun traverse, so that is 2 degrees slower, but 10 meters more view range. Now, it's the gun from is it the Crusader SP, the tier 7 British artillery, but it is slightly different to that one. So yeah, this gun is slightly different. Like I say, we'll have a look at the actual differences in a minute. But before we do, the price of Bert separately is 9,860 gold, which I think is slightly expensive for what this tank is. Your bonus is 57% silver bonus, which is really nice, but only a 10% XP bonus. Now, the reason that I think it really should not see tier 10 is because it just seems to be, I've been in tier 10 matches in it, and it seems to be completely ineffective apart from tracking things and keeping them tracked, unless you get a very lucky hit on something very weak rear or side armour, or you manage to put it on top of the turret or the engine deck. Now, that is easier, still not easy, but it's easier with this tank because of the accuracy, and because it does still seem to have a slightly higher firing arc than some of the artilleries, but not as high a trajectory as the FV304. But this gun, it's got an increased rate of fire over the one on the Crusader down at tier 7, 4.11. I think that's 3 point something. Same penetration, 70 and 75. Now that is HE and premium HE with a larger splash radius. But the damage is only 700 on this average, whereas on the Crusader it's an average of 900. So they've dropped 200 off it for that. Now I think if that was on it, you may stand a bit more of a chance in tier 10 matches. Aiming time 6.5 seconds, which is slightly less I think than the Crusader SP, and accuracy is 0.71, which is not bad at all for an artillery. I do need to look at the Crusader SP though now, just to make sure that they are. I did look at it and I've completely forgotten. Yeah, 3.5 rounds a minute, 6.5, 0.72. So very, very slightly increased. Well, sort of no, 6.5 is the same. Accuracy is very, very slightly better, but not by much. Now, like I say, the Crusader SP is a tier 7. That will see up to tier 9. This sees up to tier 10. I just don't think it's good enough. And although it's been a little bit of fun, it's not as fun as the 304 is, or was, should I say. But I don't think the 304 is as fun as it was anyway, since it had those nerfs, which, to be fair, it really didn't need, because, you know, some people are called OP. It really wasn't, because its firing range, its actual how far it could fire, was so small, you had to more or less be on the front lines with it, and you know, it had a lot of downsides, but it did have some good sides. But I definitely don't think it was OP, and I think they definitely ruined it when they nerfed it. I really do. In fact, it still pisses me off now. As you can tell, I'm starting to get a bit worked up, so enough of that. Anyway, your shells, 700 for your standard HE, 4,800 for your premium high explosive. They are quite pricey, and you know, you can fire a lot of shells off with this thing. Skill-wise, well, the crew I've stuck in it are actually from my Centurion 7.1, which were initially a tank destroyer crew, so it's a bit of a hodgepodge of skills. And to be honest, I'm not an experienced arty player, so I'm going to do the best I can with this and the best I can with the footage. But I'm not an experienced arty player, but hopefully it will show you what it is and what it can do. But skills-wise, with arty, like I say, I really don't know. I mean, I would assume the camouflage skills, pretty much like I've got there. The Eagle Eye does not bad on arty actually, because it shows you if a tank's engine's damaged, and it just shows you which components are damaged, which may give you an increased chance of taking that tank out if you know a better idea of where to hit it. But definitely Sixth Sense, definitely camouflage. People have recommended clutch braking as well for if anything comes at and you've got to try and turn around and shoot at it. But I am a bit underqualified to comment on arty skills. Equipment wise, I've gone for the gun laying drive, I've gone for the artillery shell rammer, yeah, name's different, does the same thing, and I've gone for a camo net. It seems to have the same gun movement arc as the FV304 and is pretty much very, very similar. In fact, the 304, let's just have a look. Power to weight ratio 24.26, 72 kilometers an hour. This is slower. I know that. The power to weight ratio is slightly less, probably because the gun's a bit heavier, and the forward top speed is slightly less at 68 kilometers an hour. I just feel like I'm forgetting something, but I don't think I have. So yeah, we'll look at the modules. Oh, consumables, I've just gone for repair kit, first aid kit, and I've gone for pudding and tea just to help out with the aiming time. It does feel quite slow on this, but then again, like I say, I've not been in Bert since they did the big nerf to it last year. But yeah, power to weight ratio 22.15, so it is not quite as nippy as Bert in that respect. Neither is the top speed. You've got a 20% chance of fire as well in your engines in the front. However, with only 380 hit points, the stuff you're coming up against, 95% of it's going to one-shot you anyway, so it's not really something you need to be worrying about. Now, elevation is 45 degrees. That's something I'm going to have to check against Bert as well to see if the firing arc is... I don't know if that'll give me an indication. Maximum range 10,000 meters. Now, it has got a decent range on it, and most of the maps you can reach more or less all the way across. It's only the bigger maps that you will have to move further in. Maximum depression 1.5 degrees. Again, I'm assuming, I don't know if that's pretty standard for arty. Like I say, I'm not an arty player. I've got a couple that I potter about in, but that's about it. Terrain resistances 1.1, 1.5 and 2.3. And as you can see the tracks there, well, again, you know, you try, you know, shots might occasionally get eaten by the tracks, but you know, you're not going to be relying on any armor, and like I say, most things are going to one-shot you. Your radio is just up in the top right of the hull there. Ammunition blocks, big ones either side, so if you want to make a nice impressive explosion, that's where you want to try and hit it. And crew members, there are 5 jammed in there tightly. 3 stood up, the commander under his cupola, the driver, the loader, gunner, and radio operator, maybe, possibly. But they're all up in there. Anyway, concealment, 0.27, and while stationary, and 0.14 on the move. I will have a look at Bert again and compare that for you on here. Armour profile, well, there's not a great deal to speak of. 14 mil all round. That's it. That's what it says, and that's pretty much, well, what it says on the tin, really. You've got 1 to 20. Well, it's going to be 14, and it is literally all over. The only other bit of your tracks, which are between 21 and 30 mil of spaced armour, they do act as that. So again, you can get the odd shot eaten by that. In fact, I've got a clip. I hope I saved it of me in a, I think it was 1375. It was quite good actually. A T30 and a Rheinmetall Borsig shot at me at the same time. Both shots got eaten by my tracks. So yeah, quite fortunate. I might try and turn that into a GIF. But anyway, I digress again. There you go. That's Bert. I will just have a, well, Super Bert, should I say. Let's have a look at Bert's terrain resistances. Yeah, but they seem very, very similar. And Bert's concealment is actually slightly less, because the FV305, you cannot put camo on it. Again, in fact, the only one out of these 3 that you can is the ISU 130. You can't put camo on the M51. You can't put camo on Bert either. So that's it, I think, really. Like I say, I'll do the best I can. RT replays are not the most interesting, so there are a couple of shorter ones. Hopefully it shows off everything it can. But like I said before, I'm not an RT player. I potter about every now and again. So I'm doing the best I can with this one, but I really do think it needs preferential matchmaking. I think the price is slightly high for it, and it's alright, it's fun, but it's frustration as well in equal measures. That's my experience with it. You might have a completely different experience with it, but that's mine. But anyway, I'm going to shut up now and let's get into replays and see how it actually, see how it performs. So here we are for the first of the replays. It's a tier 8 match, very, very favourable matchmaking. One of only 2 tier 8s on either team. Standard battle, and it's Ghost Town now. I've tried to keep this as short as possible because, like I said before, and nothing against people who play arty, but arty replays 99% of the time are boring to watch. They just are. You're just sat in a top-down view, boom, boom. You know what I mean? It's only when the shit hits the fan that it really... it really picks up and actually becomes interesting, and unfortunately that doesn't happen in this one, or in the next one, I don't think either. But anyway, I've moved down a little bit, set up position, and I was just testing how far my range went, and like I say, it is bigger than, it does have a longer range than Bert, but I really don't think the firing arc is quite as high as it is on the 304. You can make shots, like I say, over buildings. It's not bad on this, but I don't think it's quite as good as that. And I do think that this needs preferential matchmaking. I really do. And I don't say that very often. To be honest, it's the same with the ISU 130. I think that does as well. It's got 215mm of pen on its standard AP rounds, which is, fair enough. You're saying, well, okay. But there's tanks with about that see up to tier 10. Yes, they do. But they also have premium ammunition that has a higher penetration. That does not. I'll explain in the review later on. And the other thing is that with the tanks like that, the CDC jumps to mind. That sees up to tier 10. That's got about 212mm of pen, if I remember rightly. Yes, it does. But that can flank and maneuver. It can get around the flank, it can get around the sides, and it can maneuver easier. The 130 is not a fast machine. It's a fixed TD, and it's very difficult to do that sort of stuff in. So yeah, and like I say, it's the same with this tank. I just feel that it really ought to have preferential matchmaking, and I don't really like saying that unless a tank really needs it. There's some tanks that are in the game now that have preferential matchmaking, and I really think don't need it. The STA2, for instance. It did before, but now it's had a buff. It's got the same pen and gun performance as the STA1. That sees up to tier 10. Why not the STA2? You see what I mean? So, you know, there are tanks that don't need it, but I think this does. I think the IC130 does. I don't think the M51 does. I think that's quite happy seeing up to tier 10. It's got a, you know, a decent enough gun and penetration on its premium ammunition. Managed to take out the KV3 there after a few hits. But you'll see the aiming circle on this, you know, it does go quite small. It might take a little bit to get down there, but again, compared to some of the other artillery in the game, and that's what you've got to remember, compared to a lot of the existing artillery in the game, this is very accurate, and it does aim fairly quickly. And it, you know, you can just see I'm trying to get it onto the top of the tank there. And it said that it went through, but I'm not sure that it did. But with it having that slightly higher arc, you can get your centre dot more or less on the engine deck sometimes, and I have done that, and I have put it through there sometimes. I think I did it to a Conqueror in a tier 9 match, but he did have his back to me. No, he didn't. No, I think he had his side to me, but I managed to get it to just land on top. And as you can see, you know, it is still nippy, not quite as high a top speed or power to weight ratio as the FV305, but it's still definitely no slouch. But there you go, came out of that map with, well, map match with 1500 damage done, and very far down the table. Like I say, I've done the best I can with these, but I am not an experienced arty player. Out of the 10 that I fired, 6 hit, and it said 6 penned, but I'm very doubtful of that one. Anyway, here's the next match. This is my lovely wife having a go in it because she really enjoyed Bert before the nerf, and she wanted to have a go in this to see, you know, see what it was like. Now, there might be some of you out there that are saying, well, what are you on about? The FV304 is great fun, you know, it is really good fun, etc. And you possibly, I'm not saying all of you are, but a lot of you that are saying that are probably the people that played it after it got nerfed. And it only got slight differences, you know, it got a slight increase to its terrain resistances. But that coupled with a decrease to its hull traverse, with an increase to its aiming time, an increase to the reload time, just kind of took away from it what made it playable and enjoyable. And like I've said with this one, I've found it fun and frustration in equal measure. You can just about fire fast enough to still keep somebody tracked, like you can with the 304. But as you can see there, this is northwest, slightly bigger map, and you've not got quite the range that you do on, obviously, well, I say obviously the smaller maps, yeah, it's pretty obvious. But yeah, it still doesn't quite have the range of a lot of the artillery. But I don't know, me personally, I was looking forward to the M51, I was looking forward to this. I have been disappointed by this. I've got to be honest with you. I don't think it's quite as good as I wanted it to be. Other people might really enjoy it. I mean, this is just my personal opinion. And like I said before, these are loaners. The only one that I think I will be buying is the M51. I do enjoy that tank, and again, that's my preference. There might be people out there that think that really doesn't look like my sort of thing, and that's fair enough. You know, people like different tanks. And, you know, all I'm trying to do is give you my opinion on it, and just be honest with you about it, and show you what it can do, tell you its strengths, its weaknesses, etc. And just try and sort of show you how it performs. And I mean, if you're looking at this and thinking, well, you know, I mean, like I say, we're both arty amateurs, and you might be looking at this and thinking, well, you know, you hardly ever play an arty, and, you know, that was a fairly decent result or whatever. I play arty a lot, I think I'm going to enjoy that. Yeah, fair enough. And that's, again, down to you. I do think the price is slightly high for it, though, I must admit. And I really... They need to do one of two things. They either need to give it that 200 damage back that they took off it when the Crusader SP has with the very same gun, or they need to give it preferential matchmaking up to tier 9. That's what I think anyway. I don't know if either of those will ever happen, but that's what I think that needs to happen. Now, back to the game, and like I said, this is my wife having a go in this one, and she's going after that Jagdpanther 2, and if she can hit its side, no, change into the IS. And just clipped him, did a little bit of damage. But as you can see, you know, it does have its benefits as well. It might not quite have the range, it definitely doesn't have the damage, but it does have the accuracy, and you know, that aiming circle does go very, very small, and when you're aiming at a heavy tank, you've kind of got to try hard to miss it, as long as you let it aim fully. Now just let it aim in on the IS. I think Brothers in Arms would help out on this, definitely. Maybe even Vents as well. I don't know. I don't think it really needs a camouflage net. I kind of put one on. I don't even know why it just sort of put it on. But I think with the shorter range on the larger maps, the amount you're going to have to move around, there's an argument that you don't really need the camo net. You could drop it for Vents, which would increase your aiming time and your reload time and even more. But as you can see, you can put a fair amount of shells downrange. The accuracy is not too bad. Well, you know, the accuracy is quite good, like I say, for an arty. It does go very small. And what's the reload? 12.5 seconds. So, actually, that's with an artillery shell rammer, but that's the same as an unequipped M51 Super Sherman. That's the same reload time as that one. Now, just trying to get it in between the buildings. And again, I'm not, with me not being, I know I've said this a few times, but I don't play arty a lot. I'm not sure whether other arties would have been able to make that shot in between the buildings or not. Like I say, I'm just trying to show you what it can and can't do. You can see these shots going in between buildings, and if you are an experienced arty player, you'll be thinking, oh, actually, no, in my M12 whatever, I couldn't make that shot. I might pick one of these up, and that's what I'm here to do. Now, just going to go for the Tiger Tube. Can't quite get him. There we go. Just wait for it. Fire. And a nice solid hit and a pen. That was definitely a pen at 648 damage. I mean, having said what I said earlier about giving it the 200 damage back, I really don't think it needs that. I think it's because I don't think that would make much of a difference in a tier 10 match, to be honest. I think the preferential matchmaking on this would possibly be more appropriate, and there might be people out there that disagree with me. That's fine, you know. But in tier 10 matches, I just found this almost ineffectual. It was just like you were tickling them. You know, it wasn't really doing anything. It was just a bit of annoyance, like a fly buzzing into your head or something. And now the AT-15, that's going to be a trickier target. But again, you can aim for the top, you can aim for the engine deck because of that slightly higher trajectory. It doesn't mean you're going to hit it, but you can go for it. And as you can see there, the actual centre dot for the aim was just moving across the top of the tank, but unfortunately within reversing it just tapped into his side and really didn't do much. Is that one going to go in? Nope, again. Yeah, we didn't pierce their armour. 161 damage, yeah, that's splash damage, definitely. But it's knocked his tracks off, and... Not... Well, it knocked his tracks off, and if you noticed, his tracks came up just a split second before my wife fired again. So it's in the realms of possibly keeping stuff tracked with it, possibly depending on whether they've got maybe full repairs and track mechanic. I think if they had that, you probably wouldn't keep them tracked. But if they've just got full repairs, I think there's possibly a good chance that you'd maybe have a good enough fire rate to keep them tracked and pinned in place. That's the worst thing about the FV304. I hate it. If I'm in a match and all of a sudden arty hits me and gets tracked, and I see that it's a 304 that's tracked me, I'm burning that repair kit and I'm getting the hell out of there. because they are fast enough to keep you tracked and pinned in place, definitely. Now it's just slightly out of range. Oh, something I did forget as well in the garage, I do apologise. I just remembered I did mention about the HE shells. The premium ones do have a slightly higher splash. It's around, I think, 3.5-ish metre splash for your standard HE, and it's just over 4 metres, maybe 4.5 metres for your premium HE. Those figures are just from memory, so please don't quote me on that. But it's roughly that, so you do get a slightly increased splash radius, and you do get the 5 extra average penetration as well. Now the match has been going alright. My wife, she's done fairly well, you know, 12 penetrations and 7 module damage as well. So yeah, it's not been going too bad. You do seem to need to do a lot of hits in this though to actually build that damage up. So the 57% silver bonus, that extra bit, 'cause normally tier 8's around 50, so that will help towards that. I very much doubt you could only fire premium HE in this and still make money. I could be wrong, because obviously you might be doing a bit more damage, it might work out that way. There's the guy capping an M6. Oh, just missed, but you don't have to wait too long for the reload, so it's not too bad. Just waiting for it, waiting for the aim, take the shot, and boom. A nice solid hit. I don't know if that did go through, I didn't quite see what the damage was on that one. And he's now giving us his side. And again, that wasn't a pen at 267, that seemed to be splash damage. But that's the match, and last guy destroyed and capped out at the same time. But there you go, the FV304. I personally won't be getting it, but hopefully you'll be able to now make up your mind as to whether you'd want to get it. It will be coming into the store over the next couple of weeks in various bundles, but like I say, it is nearly 10,000 gold, so do be aware of that when you're looking at the bundles. But I hope you've enjoyed that episode. I will be back later on with the ISU 130 review. I definitely will today. That one is going to be tricky, because yeah, I'm not particularly experienced with fixed TDs. I am practicing in them and I'm getting better from what you've seen with, you know, some of my other like my Canonin reviews and things like that. So I am practicing in them, but yeah, I'm not looking forward to doing this one. But anyway, I hope, like I say, you've been informed. I hope you've been able to make up your mind whether you want to maybe fork out for this one or just skip it and possibly even just get the tier 6 Bert back. But then again, he doesn't have the potential to make credits like this one does. But there you go, the FV305. Anyway, like I say, back later with another video. So until then, take care of there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.